me okay? Welcome to today's podcast. It is the beginning of February, hope 2026, at least on a personal level, is going okay for you. The world is going mad, but we can only focus on what we can control. Hoping for better days. Hoping for better days. Thank you, everyone who wished me better. You can probably hear from my voice. Yes, I'm feeling a lot better. My throat is not as sensitive today. Still coughing a little bit, but it it's been easier going today. Much, much easier going. Also, there's different regulations in different countries. So where I am, like there are certain like over the counter stuff that I can get that I just wouldn't get over the counter in the UK. So that's helped speed up the healing process. Um, Helen, you said what an absolute bat-ish crazy weekend on Monday here in the UK. I mean, is there any day of the week where it isn't at this point, whether you're in the UK, especially if you're in the US, I feel like every day is turning into a bat-ish crazy day. Oh dear, oh dear. Himi Fanny said, those in the southern US are finally thawing after a bad ice storm. Well, I'm very sorry for those of you who got it really bad. Having said that, I'm not saying that it wasn't bad, by the way, but honestly, the way that the media was reporting it, I thought the second ice age was coming. But I'm glad to hear that you're okay. Thank you, Caroline. Yes, I am feeling a lot better. Thank you. It was also just so confusing because I was genuinely sick. I get terrible postnasal drip, like a lot of like phlegm and stuff. The cold went away, and then this awful infection, like throat infection or something going on, just came back with a vengeance. I also think the air quality where I am isn't great. There's a lot of like motorcycles on the roads, and I don't know what type of gasoline they use, so the air can be quite thick. That definitely didn't help. But I'm okay. Right, let's get to it because there's actually quite a lot to get through. And now that my throat is better, this is probably going to be an hour podcast, an hour plus. So please do get comfortable because I've got quite a few articles to get through. Right, and we're going to be talking about Andrew and the backlash that the royals are now facing. I mean, I feel like it's been a steady and slow backlash. And now the noise has gotten so freaking loud. Because now the story has become, what did the royals know? What did Charles, Camilla, Kate, and William know? And I've been, on socials today, and there are accounts who are not royal fan accounts, who are just like general news, general chatter accounts, all talking about this. We're also going to get into the Norwegian royals being exposed. The royals from the other countries are often looked at as more sensible, more like families, more normal, more down to earth. And it seems like that facade is starting to crack. Granted, I would say the Norwegian royal family, it's always been a bit strange over there in comparison to, say, the royal family in Denmark. I think the royal family in Denmark and Sweden, I would say, have a much better reputation. Um, it's been getting weird in Norway for a while. And the thing is, I feel like, and we'll get into this in the podcast, it looks like the Norwegian people hold the royals to a much higher standard. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how some of the scandals affecting the Norwegian royals, and then one of them or two of them being linked to Epstein. One of them, the son's now in a court case regarding sexual assault. And also One of the princesses of Norway is married to a shaman, African American shaman. Now, to be honest, I haven't watched their documentary. So I don't want to make a judgment. And also, I'm very aware of the fact that because he is an African American man, I also believe he what was it now? Oh, he's because he's African American, because he's a shaman and he has, certain beliefs, um, that there has always been judgment about them as a couple. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he is a bad person or has ill intention being with the the princess. I think her name is Martha or something. Um yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything wrong with him. So I want to reserve personal judgment, but I have heard people say that they believe that he is a grifter and that he actively tried to date her because she was a royal, and that there's a lot of weird stuff that came up in their documentary. Again, I have not done a deep enough dive to make that judgment, but a lot of people have said that about that couple. So there's a lot of chatter around the Norwegian royal family, and criticism of them in general. And now this coming up with the two of their princesses being affiliated with Epstein. Lottie, you said, I am so glad that the royal family is going through this. They claim that Meghan was the one on E Island all the time. It was Andrew. Well, to be honest, I've never even heard the Derangers trying to link Meghan to Epstein, but I have heard trolls trying to say that she was a yacht girl, but not necessarily anything to do with Epstein. But those, of course, are all false rumors. Right, let's get on to the first thing. I think we have a new record. I'm not sure what the record is exactly, but the last time I checked, I think the highest spending I saw for a squaddy on As Ever was about $2,000. I think we have a new record. Is this a new record? Over $4,000. So this person bought 33 sage honeys with the honeycomb, 36 flower sprinkles. That's over $500. The honeycomb over $1,000, and 40 of the honeydew gift box, over $2,400. Strange way to prepare for the apocalypse by buying As Ever. No, but seriously, I love this. I love whoever did this. And whether they're buying this for themselves or for friends and family, I love whoever did this. I mean, at this point, we're gonna have a flower sprinkle shortage. Is the what do they call it where they make honey? Apiary? Are there enough apiaries where they make the As Ever honey to keep up with demand? Mind you, for the more limited edition stuff, there was a limit to how many you could get. But it seems like this person got as much of the other stuff as they could. Congratulations to this person, and I sincerely hope you enjoy your As Ever bounty. Imagine being the person in the warehouse packing this. We love to see it. Right. Let's get on to the drama. Now, who remembers this cover? Who remembers this? On the cover of the Metro, by the way, the Metro that is meant to be more respectable. The Metro that is given out for free, by the way. So thousands of people getting on the bus, the train, saw this cover. Even if they don't actively go and buy a newspaper, this is free and it's all over the underground. Even if you don't pick one up, you get on the train, it'll be there. And they really thought that they probably ate with this, right? The toxic press and the royals thought that they ate with this. Harry and Meghan out, Andrew in. And Andrew is still in, he's still there. And this was when the Queen was still alive. And there she is in front of him, knowing full well that she paid that 12 million. In my humble opinion, I hope that neither Harry or Meghan ever mentions the Queen again. Ever. I don't care if they have any statue unveilings, if they have any memorials, memoriams. Harry and Meghan should never mention him again. Never mention her again. Harry should never mention his grandmother again because it is not going to rub off well on them. I think it'll be a very, very bad PR move. I think that the royal brand is finished. With this Andrew thing, it's now finished. And Harry and Meghan should just stay far away. Don't talk to them people. Don't go to no. Charles's funeral is gonna happen eventually. And I would say to whoever's dealing with Harry's PR, Harry should if he goes, go and take your seat at the Westminster Abbey. Go in and get out. Don't do any of the ceremonial stuff. They're not going to let you wear the ceremonial garb anyway. You do not want anything to do with the royal at this point where we are now. You don't want anything to do with them people. Granted, they're still trying to get you and your family unalived. But now this is a serious PR crisis now. Truly, the Pandora's box has been opened and it's not going to close. Up until now, you could just about get away with it. I mean, some of the stuff that's coming out in these Epstein files, grotesque. Grotesque does not even begin to describe, actually. There's just something about a certain amount of money and power that when a human gets, they just go crazy. And it's like the money and the power isn't enough. And also, I will also say, I mean, I just said humans, not to say that, women cannot engage in these type of activities or women were not engaged in these type of activities, but overwhelmingly it was men. And it was women and children being victimized. Anywho, we're now finding out more details. Sarah Ferguson, where is this now? What type of strange weirdo mother are you? Sarah Ferguson apparently joked about it was either Beatrice or Eugenie, so I'm trying to find the right slide, being on a shagging weekend to Epstein. And I'm trying to, sorry folks, I think the slide that I'm looking for isn't loading. One sec. The other thing that I wanted to say while I'm trying to get this little technical hitch to work, the other thing that I want to say is I feel like there's a lot of grown adults that never really self-actualize. They never really find their own sense of self. And so they search for, and then when you also add money, power, fame, status, all of which go unchecked, you then get an individual who still has a very high school mindset. Here's the slide I was looking for. who wants to be in with a popular crowd, wants to be in with the so-called it people, no matter how much money or fame or power they have. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting with Epstein. It's like all these people had all the money, fame, and power that you could amass in a lifetime. But there was something about this man that they all wanted to hang out with, and they all wanted to be emailing him, and they all wanted to be on his island. And I mean, what was it about him specifically? And is it just Epstein? Is there just one Epstein? I don't believe that there's just one. I just find it phenomenal that I mean, this has probably been going on for decades, but how so many people in music, in politics, royals, all linked to this one person. What? Because he was giving you money? Because was he letting you on his yacht? Was he? I mean, what the hell? Oh yeah, so Sarah Ferguson allegedly told Epstein she was waiting for her then 19 or 20-year-old daughter Eugenie to come back from a shagging weekend. Yeah, that's exactly the type of thing that a loving mother would say to a PDF file. She also apparently told Epstein, "Just marry me," 6 months after the PDF file was released from jail, and offered him VIP tours of Buckingham Palace. There's so many emails and video images and whatnot. I'm personally not going through all of them. I feel like I've already seen enough. I'm only just reporting on how the royals are linked to all of this. And also, I'm thinking back to these images of William and Kate in the car on two separate occasions, by the way, letting it be very well known that Andrew is still very much in the fold. They knew all of this was coming. They knew. And they still wanted to shove it in people's faces that he's got our backing, he's got our support. So there he was in the car. Anyway, let's get on to actually, before we get onto the Norwegian royals, I just also wanted to say this right here is also another reason why we can't get anywhere when it comes to predators. Do you remember this video of this crazy lady? So I'm sorry for the scary picture, but this woman was yelling at someone who was trying to question Charles about Andrew and Epstein. So this guy, he was a protester, and he said to Charles, what did you know, or when did you know about Andrew and Epstein? And this crazy lady right here, who looks as crazy as she sounded that day, was trying to tell this protester, asking a perfectly reasonable question. She was trying to tell him to be quiet. This is one of the reasons that these powerful individuals get away with what they get away with. And also it runs from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. I mean, we're talking about very powerful people not being held accountable for these things. You look at the rates of conviction for abuse, the lax sentencing, even the average abuser walking the streets is not brought to justice, or if they are, you'll be lucky if they get a sentence that actually matches the crime. And then all of the victim blaming that comes with it, and the amount of trauma that the victim has to go through to get any kind of justice. Like, this isn't just about Epstein. It's about a whole culture that enables this behavior from the bottom all the way to the top, from the top to the bottom. I'll even go as far as to say one of the reasons why we don't get enough or like sentencing is so low, trying to get convictions are so low just in the general courts, is if you actually had any real accountability starting at the bottom, that would, well, then you would have to apply that same accountability all the way to the top. So we let the ones at the bottom slide to keep the ones at the top comfortable. And you had Anne apparently was worried that Charles was too harsh. Criminality is the glue that keeps all of these people together. I hope with this now coming out, people start to seriously take a look and start asking questions again about Charles and Jimmy Savile. Like, I don't know how that isn't a bigger deal. I mean, Epstein likely had one of the biggest global networks. Jimmy Savile, I think that hundreds of victims, at least the ones that we know of. And it took for him to die for all of that to start coming out. All right, let's go on to this story coming out of Norway. Now, one of the Norwegian princes is going to trial for assault of several women. Now, this has been some time coming. However, literally just in the last hour, okay, this is completely fresh and new, separate from the charges that he's already going to trial for. This is literally in the last hour that he has been arrested on new allegations ahead of his current trial. So the eldest son of Norway's crown princess has been arrested over new allegations. I mean, at least they actually arrest their royals and put them on trial. Police said Monday, a day ahead of his trial on charges including sexual assault in a case that has been an embarrassment to the royal family. Marius Bohobi was arrested on Sunday evening and accused of assault, threats with a knife, and violation of a restraining order, police said in a statement. Norwegian media quoted police as saying the offences allegedly took place over the weekend. So you're currently on trial, and literally over the weekend, on the days leading up to, you're out here assaulting, threatening with a knife. He's dangerous. He shouldn't have. He should be locked up until this trial is over, because he just seems out of control. On Monday, the Oslo District Court granted their request to keep him in detention for up to 4 weeks on the grounds of risk of re-offending. Denise lawyer Peter Salulik told the Associated Press that the arrest followed an alleged incident involving another person on Sunday. He declined to give details but said Hobie contests his detention and his legal team was considering an appeal as soon as he and the other person can provide statements to the police. Boy, why you got a knife? Why you got a knife ahead of trial? Only thing you should be holding is a spoon and your head down. On Tuesday, police won't be able to hear those statements any sooner than this weekend when the proceedings take a scheduled break. On Tuesday, Hobie faces an indictment including 38 counts at the Oslo court. They include sexual assault, abuse in a close relationship against one former partner, acts of violence against another, and transporting 3.5 kilograms of marijuana. Other charges include making death threats and traffic violations. Just throw them all in the bin. Throw them all in the bin. And now the crown princess herself finding herself in a scandal when newly unsealed documents revealed her unexpected friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I believe it her or parts of her dealings with Epstein were actually already known, but now new stuff has come out that incriminates her even more. But I believe that there was stuff out about this anyway. And then you also have the other one. Hang on a sec, phrase my oh, okay, no, sorry. I'm actually getting the princesses mixed up. I apologize. So there was the Norwegian royal and also the Swedish royal, Princess Sophia, apparently partied with Epstein in Africa and was sending him emails. Okay. Let's stick. Sorry for that confusion. So it is both the Norwegian and Swedish royals. But let's stick with the Norwegians for Norwegian royals for today. Where is this article? Give us a sec now. Okay. So princess, which princess is this? Let me just open up the article. Princess Marit constantly emailed Jeffrey Epstein in the 2010s. So Norway's Princess Marit is married to Crown Prince Haakon. Before they married, she had a child, her son Marius Borg Hoby. So he's the one that will stand trial for multiple sexual assault charges this week. That alone is being called the biggest scandal to ever hit the Norwegian royal family. The fact that the future king's stepson has been charged with a long list of major crimes, including assault, but Marit has a lot of other problems. She's in really poor health and she will likely receive a lung transplant soon. And she was good friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and a bunch of her old emails were released in the latest batch of documents. Emails sent by Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway are among the 3 million files to have been released by the US Department of Justice. For those of you in the US, I'm feeling that the US Department of Justice are just as complicit in some of this, because why did they wait so long and why did they wait up until now? You've had these files. What was stopping you? Who was stopping you? So a newly leaked file that dates back to October 2012 reveals an email exchange between the wife of Crown Prince Haakon and the disgraced PDF financer, in which Epstein asks Mette-Marit, "Weather was too bad, I returned to New York. How was your wedding?" In an email dated the 21st of October 2012, the Norwegian royal penned a response: "Boring wedding, was like some kind of old movie where, the characters are not hanging around for much longer." So this was apparently in reference to the wedding of the Grand Duke and Grand Duchess of Luxembourg. So the Norwegian princess was bitching about your wedding. Now you know, folks. Now you know. So she did speak to a Norwegian broadcaster, disavowing her friendship with Epstein, and spoke about her regret for not looking into his background and not understanding who he was. She said, "Jeffrey Epstein is responsible for his actions. I must take responsibility for not checking Epstein's background better and for not understanding quickly enough what kind of person he was. I deeply regret that, and this is a responsibility I must take. I showed poor judgment and regret ever having any contact with him. It is simply embarrassing." You know, I've seen this word embarrassing hopping around so much. It's embarrassing that I knew him. It's embarrassing for the royal family of Norway, of Sweden, of the UK. It's embarrassing. Using such a light word and making it about how you feel and completely erasing the victims in all of this. I think it's actually insulting to use a word like embarrassing. They should be deeply ashamed of associating with someone who was abusing others. That's what they should be saying. Not using a word as light as embarrassing. Farting in a silent room is embarrassing. Being associated with someone like Jeffrey Epstein, it is scandalous, it is shameful. The article continues. It was already known that Mette-Marit and Epstein were friends from 2011 to 14, years after everyone knew that Epstein was convicted. But seeing how often they emailed during that time it's extremely odd. While there are tons of documents in the Epstein files which have shocked me and sickened me, I'm continuously astonished by how many so-called elites, royals, journalists, captains of industry, politicians were all in regular contact with Epstein for years. Indeed, they were emailing him about mundane things at times, often just sharing gossip or trying to find out Epstein's gossip. It's so odd. I'm including some of the emails between Epstein below. Okay, I'm not gonna go into all of them, but she actually took her kids to see Epstein, by the way. She also said, "You always make me smile because you tickle my brain." These people are insane. Okay, let's go to your comments and then we'll keep it moving. Yeah, what kind of mother says about your daughter to another grown man, "My daughter's gone for a shagging weekend"? Now, in regards to Andrew, the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has apparently urged Andrew to testify. So let's just find this. Oh, these articles are all over the place because there's just so many. So in terms of testifying, I have always said anybody who has got information should be prepared to share that information in whatever form they are asked to do that, Starmer told reporters on Sunday. You can't be victim-centered if you're not prepared to do that, he added. Epstein's victims have to be the first priority. I mean, he says that, but you could put the hammer down and have him extradited any day now. You could. It's just gross. Mind you, even if Andrew did go to the US, now that Trump is there, I don't think anything will be done because Trump's name has come up several times in these files and emails as well. Lottie said, "I know that Harry and Meghan would have gotten the last laugh because of the way they were treated by that family. Now look at Andrew. I mean, now look at the whole darn show." I wouldn't be surprised at this point if there are serious calls for a referendum for the monarchy before the year ends. Donna, yeah, that crazy lady who was yelling in that picture, which I won't put back on the screen, definitely a reform voter. In fact, I would actually say she's probably not a reform voter. There are even more right-wing parties in the UK, and I would say she's probably voting for one of them. Reform has a lot of tap dancing people of color in their party. So I think someone like that um, probably is no longer interested in voting for reform. She's probably with a party that's even more to the right. Oh yeah, of course. William and Kate made sure that we all knew. We remember the articles that came out. They would rather live next to Andrew. Um, yeah, personally, it would appear that they want to hold the rules in Norway more accountable. I think that's probably because um I think in Norway, I don't think Norway is a constitutional monarchy. I think they've got a monarchy, but it's very separate to everyday politics. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, yeah. Just so, yeah, just to make a correction, he's not officially a prince because he's a stepson from a previous marriage, so he doesn't have any official royal titles, but he has all of the privileges of a prince. But he's not a blood prince. Mm. Actually, you said you haven't seen the crepes for a while. That is a very, very good point, actually. And also crepes would be nice to see you, Trinette, by the way. I feel like I haven't seen you for a while. Crepes you would think would be one of those ones that they would be able to just keep in stock. It's not even like a seasonal one. I do wonder why that is. That's a very good point. People told the prince not to marry her, but he didn't listen. Well, let's not assume that the prince is innocent. I think they've all got a little bit of corruption in them. Yep, all of them, nothing but royal garbage. Dear oh dear. I mean, Fergie asking Epstein to marry her. How absolutely gross. That desperate for money. But let's definitely keep an eye on these Norwegian royals, because if Norway actually has a backbone and this young man here goes to jail, and if the mother is told to relinquish her royal titles and privileges, then all eyes are going to be on the British royal family. It would be mighty interesting to see if a royal from the Norwegian family actually goes to jail, and if his mother faces any extra consequences for her associations with Epstein, whether or not the husband chooses to divorce her. That's assuming the husband himself didn't have anything to do with Epstein. Okay. Hazel, you said when King Harold gave permission, his sister said it would be the end of the royal family. Oh dear, oh dear. Thank you so much, Christine. You said the Sussexes aren't allowed to fail, make mistakes like any normal human. Indeed. And all of their mistakes are the mistakes of any normal human. Most normal humans aren't hanging around PDF files. But let Meghan open a car door. Let her stand 2 centimeters in front of her husband. We're getting absolute fake outrage everywhere. But let Andrew hang around a PDF file and let the whole royal institution protect him and pay off his victims to the tune of 12 million. Silence. Royal reporters right now, silent. Silent, silent, silent. Instead of real journalism, you have these, online trolls making up conspiracy theories about the wicks in Meghan's candles. One of these crazy trolls took Meghan's candle, pulled out the wick, and made a whole video about how there's no wick in Meghan's candle. That's the grand conspiracy. That's the grand crime that Meghan apparently committed. Not having a wick in her candle. The wick that you pulled out and then made a video for clicks. These people are pathetic. They wanted Meghan to unalive herself. Meanwhile, they're protecting the likes of Andrew. Quite frankly, if Keir Starmer isn't planning on moving forward with trying to get any type of prosecution or real investigation into Andrew, not these fake investigations that we've had, then he should have just stayed quiet. Saying everything but meaning nothing. Honey how about Piers trying to grab attention and trying to get sympathy? He will get absolutely no sympathy, and apparently his wife is sick and tired of him already. She's sick and tired of having to look after him, and he's apparently getting more irritated and angsty. Well, he's gonna be in care for a while. A hip replacement is no joke. That's months of healing and sitting and rehab before you can be out and about again. Wouldn't be surprised if before the end of the year you hear that Piers Morgan and his wife have divorced. Vanity, you said, not defending anyone, Epstein was initially a successful financial strategic advisor, dealing with high profile people. Many people, including lawyers, wanted to work with him without knowing what was behind. That is actually true. And there are people who are being, their names are being brought up in the Epstein files that did not have anything to do with Epstein outside of what you've just what I've just read out. So that is also very important to just consider. When you do hear names being thrown around, Russell Wilson's name got thrown into the mix also. But if you actually look at where Russell Wilson's name is mentioned in the files, it was mentioned in passing from someone who was it was just like a financial transaction, or somebody was trying to sell him a private jet and he never even got back to that person. So not everybody's whose names are mentioned had any close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. That is also very, very true and something to consider. But there are a lot of people who are being mentioned where, like this lady, hundreds, if not thousands of emails going back and forth, and people who went to his island were flying on his private jet and all of that. So just obviously important to distinguish between who definitely was a close associate of Epstein and who wasn't. Helen, you said, have you heard such wickedness? The latest is Andrew crouched over the girl. Yeah, I showed the picture in the last podcast. I'm not going to show it now. Highly, highly disturbing pictures. Just gross. Vanity, you said only investigations could tell who really knows and who was used by him or who was part of the traffic. somehow I just don't think that those wider ranging, deeper investigations are going to happen, because all these so-called files are coming out. You know what's not happening? Nobody's getting arrested. But somebody actually said in a tweet, and I think I put it, yeah, here. We're being traumatized with information, but nobody's getting arrested. Where are the arrests? And for sure, I think at this point, we just need to stop worshipping celebrities and wealthy people. Just stop it. Okay, let's move on to, oh dear. Let's move on to our royals, the British royals. William is the secret weapon of diplomacy. This William in the sand, by the way. The William who considers showing up to football matches as work. That William. I mean, this is February. I'm gonna have to go on the Republic page, because they're very good at doing this, and look at exactly how many days of work William has actually done this year so far. Kate also, she has a habit of, at the beginning of the year, she always does this, just disappearing. In fact, I think it's one of the reasons they're going to try and get her on a tour. We'll get into that in a sec, because it's just become so obvious how little work she does. But she always, at the beginning of the year, disappears. It's a very easy time for her to disappear. People are busy going back to work also. People are still high off of the holidays, so she can happily disappear. And for years, nobody's really questioned it up until now. But let's just focus on William, shall we? William's going to turn 44 years old this summer. His office and the British Royal Reporters still talk about him like the surly youth who must be applauded as an international statesman and diplomat, whenever he does just a small fraction of what his father did in his 20s. So it is with William's upcoming visit to Saudi Arabia. He will travel to the kingdom for a whirlwind 2-day trip, arriving in Riyadh on February the 9th. And this is the reason why Roy and Nika got a huge exclusive about the trip this weekend. It's because William always does this. He always overhypes and underdelivers, indeed. I mean, we all remember him, cleaning the rivers and fishing for fishing for clams in New York. That was meant to be his Super Bowl in America. The hype is always skewed to King as the second coming of George C. Marshall. And then the actual trip happens, and it's just sad sack Peggington wandering around, doing god awful photo ops and being treated like the village idiot. Some highlights from Nika's New Times piece. William will meet with Mohammed bin Salam. And this trip is at the request of the British government, by the way. William will be on the Royal Soft Power mission, celebrating growing trade, energy, and investment ties with the richest state in the Middle East. As the two nations approach a century of diplomatic relations next year, intelligence sharing and security will also be on the agenda. William is expected to meet Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salam. The controversial de facto ruler of the kingdom will be keen to use William's visit to burnish his credentials as a reforming leader in a region of dictators. So they're trying to position William as an emerging serious global statesman. But think about what's going on in the world right now. I think that William is walking a very tight rope by trying to position himself as a global statesman. And the general image of MBS after the Khashoggi murder isn't great. So I don't know why William believes that this would make him look good. And this comes off the back of him meeting with Trump very enthusiastically, multiple times at the state banquets and also at the reopening of Notre Dame. He was there all shaking Trump's hand. Harry doesn't need all of this. You know why? Because he started laying the foundations ages ago and focused on doing something impactful. I keep saying it. The other royals need to stop focusing on being liked and popular and just try to focus on being impactful. And I think somehow in William's head, he believes by going on a trip like this, that somehow I think measures up to, in his delusional mind, what Harry's been able to do with Invictus. True, Harry, just with Invictus, is a global statesman because of all of the entities around the world that are involved in Invictus. So I think that this is somehow William's way of trying to catch up. William is conscious of his growing role as the UK secret weapon of diplomacy. And you know who voted that he was that? And the importance of being placed on the government's number one ask of him this year. Following recent high-profile visits to Saudi Arabia by Trump, President Macron, and the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who visited last year, and Starmer, who visited in 2024. Or William is expected to visit the US in the summer, at Trump's invitation, by the way, to mark the 250th anniversary of American independence, and to visit India in the autumn for his environmental prize Earthshot. Oh yes, they're taking Earthshot to India. The Saudi trip is his only scheduled event travel this year at the government's request. So the article says, while I'm no diplomatic heavy, I can read between the lines. The British government is sending William to do some photo ops and get FaceTime with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman because Britain needs some things from Saudi Arabia and not the other way around. They need Saudi Arabia to buy fighter jets and invest in GCAP and probably several other programs. In typical British fashion, they're making it sound like William has some kind of tricky agenda or that the Saudis are lucky to see him. Nope. It would probably be too problematic to send Charles. So William is all they've got. Exactly. Exactly this. It's more strategy than soft power. Because I'm sure that they would actually love for Charles to be there. But it doesn't look the same to send Charles because Charles doesn't have that wash of mystery and respectability that the Queen once had. So they're probably praying that William doesn't blunder into an international incident. You just know it's going to happen. Having the smart thing would be to distract William by sending him to a park to plant trees. Sorry, my voice is cracking. They should send him to a park to plant trees, like he did last time when he went to Dubai. Send him in a suit to plant trees. If you didn't see those pictures of William planting a tree in the desert, wearing a suit, go and Google them. You had to be there. And I'm sure some lackey has been sent to read the briefing papers to poor illiterate William too. William is a secret weapon, you guys. He's a secret weapon. Honey, that secret weapon got the weakest darn bullets you've ever seen. The bullets in that secret weapon couldn't penetrate a paper bag. William, I love watching football and doing nothing else. William, I'm gonna end homelessness and bring peace to the Middle East. Ridiculous. Okay, on to the next thing. For some Meghan haters, The obsession goes to epic levels that literally destroy their own mental health. And here is an example of how that can happen. Mind you, I've seen some pretty crazy stuff in this scene on these royal streets over the years. Stuff I don't even mention because I don't want to bring the attention of those crazies to my page. There was one particular troll I saw once. I'm not going to say her name. She used to be on TikTok. I don't think she's there anymore. She never had more than a couple thousand followers. But every single one of her videos, and I believe that she was an obsessive stalker. I wouldn't even be surprised if this lady is on a watch list. What she would do is she would print paper masks of Meghan's face, put them on her face, and then dance around. And what was so odd about her videos is I also think that this person lacked speaking comprehension. Like there was genuinely something wrong with her. There was something wrong with her speech, her ability to read, her ability to talk. She just seemed genuinely unhinged. And these are the type of people who get fixated on people on Meghan. And now we have this lady whose husband absolutely had enough. So, husband seeks divorce after wife's obsession with Meghan turns into Rism and conspiracy theories. So, a man is asking strangers online whether his marriage can survive after he says his wife became consumed by conspiracy theories and online hate communities, starting with an intense fixation on Meghan Sussex. In a post shared to the relationship advice subreddit, the original poster, a 36-year-old father, wrote that he has been married to his wife for 6 years and that the couple share a 4-year-old daughter. While he says he does not want a divorce, he admitted he feels he has run out of options. When we first met, my wife was kind, brilliant, and an outgoing person. However, the past few years, she's changed in ways that really scare me. According to the original poster, his wife now spends hours each day scrolling through and arguing in online conspiracy spaces and hate groups. He said the behavior has become so consuming that it feels as though he's living in a different reality. The original poster shared that his wife has not held a stable job in 3 years, often taking part time work before quitting or being fired within months. As a result, he said he has become the sole provider and taken on most of the parenting duties. Our daughter loves her mum, he wrote, but my wife often seems distracted or disengaged, and it breaks my heart to see that. See, often when it comes to these Meghan haters, it's the ones that are in terrible marriages and terrible relationships. They project their feelings and hate onto Meghan. But here's someone the husband seems genuinely concerned, like genuinely like he's a decent guy. And now she's the one just ruining her relationship and marriage for no reason. He added that the changes have affected more than their household. His wife has lost several friendships and that even her own family have begun to distance themselves. While they still check in on him and their daughter, he said they have admitted they no longer know how to reach her. Oh dear. This is what these online spaces do. They can really, if you get too much into the extreme stuff, they'll just send you spiraling. One of the biggest concerns that the original poster said is that his wife has his wife's online fixation has taken a darker turn. It started as an obsessive dislike of a certain celebrity, he wrote, but it's turned into an outright it turned into outright RS comments particularly towards women of color. In follow-up comments, the original poster identified the celebrity as Megan Sussex and said that the fixation has been one of the wife's longest running online obsessions. I've asked for a long time in this space, at what point are the haters going to get bored? I don't think some of them will ever get bored. And I think what keeps them fixated even more is that the crazy conspiracy theories that these spaces are peddling continue to be proven wrong. So for years, what the tabloids and the online trolls have pushed is that Harry and Meghan are failing. To the contrary, Harry and Meghan go from strength to strength. And so I think one of the reasons these haters are hanging on and hanging around and so obsessed is because they're waiting for the day that their obsession is confirmed. But that day moves further and further and further and further away as Meghan and Harry do better and continue with their projects. And that their projects become more and more and more successful. And I don't know at which point they're going to realize that they have well and truly been fooled. So the original poster also alleged that his wife sent money to someone she met through an online royal gossip community who claimed to be hiring a private investigator to expose Meghan. What? He said that she described the situation as completely reasonable and did not see anything wrong with it. You don't see anything wrong with sending money to a complete stranger who says that they're going to expose Meghan. Expose her how exactly? The Daily Mail and whoever else, the Sun or whatever, already had private investigators trying to go through Meghan's garbage, trying to get her social security number. And even they couldn't get anything because there's nothing to get and nothing to find. There's nothing to expose. But you're going to pay some random crazy stranger online money to expose Meghan. Expose her how? This is how crazy the obsession is. The original poster says that I'm emotionally exhausted. I'm worried about the environment our daughter is growing up in. I don't want her thinking this level of disconnect is normal. Well, good on him. It's absolutely not normal. The post drew thousands of reactions from Reddit users, many of whom said the story felt disturbingly familiar. Several commentators have urged the original poster to prioritize his child's well-being and seek legal advice, while others described losing loved ones to other similar online radicalization. Yes. I think the obsession with Meghan is part of other wider circles of radicalization online. I think there's been a lot of talk, and it is very important about how these online spaces are radicalizing, young men into misogyny and all of this kind of stuff. But they can radicalize you into anything. They can radicalize you into sending money thinking that there's some private investigator who's going to expose Meghan. Expose her for what? What are you going to expose her for? Making jam? Right. Let's wrap things up. Yes, international statesman. That's what they're trying to call William, folks. I can see your comments in the comment section. Oh dear. All right, folks. Thank you as always for coming along. I'm so glad that I finally actually made it to a 1-hour podcast. Hopefully by tomorrow, hopefully everything from my throat will be gone and I'll be super, super good. So I've managed to push through a lot easier today. Less coughing, even though my voice is cracking. And I just want to say thank you for sticking around and being patient with me. I do like to have a good 1-hour podcast and really flesh things out. All right, folks, have a wonderful day and we will catch up with more tomorrow, okay? Ciao.